Lynne McTaggart, thank you very, very much for joining the Breaking Through the Void Summit. It's a pleasure to speak to you today. So I'm sure that nearly everyone who's signed up for the summit will know who you are, but just in case there's someone that doesn't, I'd like to just very briefly say a little bit about you. Sure. So you are an international best-selling author. You've written numerous books, The Field, The Bond, The Intention Experiment. You're also an investigative journalist, and you are the publisher of What Doctors Don't Tell You magazine, which I love and I subscribe to.
Thank you.
And you have a new book coming out, which is called The Power of Eight. And primarily, we're going to talk about that today and about what you've discovered in the book, because I think it's really, really aligned to what the summit is all about. And I'm really looking forward to hearing that.
Great.
So welcome.
Thank you. Lovely to be here with you.
So what inspired you then to write this book and to investigate what's in it for the success of the Intention Experiment?
Well, I wrote this book really after a great deal of pondering about it. I mean, it took me 10 years to want to write this book because I was terrified of what I was finding. I started out wanting to test intention because I do have a background as an investigative reporter. I had kind of trespassed into this area in terms of doing my work on the book, The Field, because there was a great deal of evidence that I had gathered from that material demonstrating that thoughts are an actual something with the capacity to affect physical matter. And I kept thinking to myself, well, that's true. How much can we do with it? You know, can we cure cancer with our thoughts? I mean, people talked about manifesting stuff for themselves, but no one was really talking about the real power of this and how far we can take it. And also, if it's that powerful, does it magnify when lots of people are thinking the same thought at the same time? So I decided to test this because I thought, well, I've got loads of scientists who I know through my work. And I also have lots of readers around the world because my books are in 30 languages. So if I just invited them to come together and do experiments, I would have the biggest global laboratory in the world. And so that's what I decided to do in 2007 when I did my book, The Intention Experiment. It was really an invitation, not only providing information for people about the power of intention, but an invitation to test it as a collective thing. And so we did, and we've run 30 experiments since that time. We've run everything from trying to make seeds grow faster to changing basic properties of water, changing pH of water, to lowering violence and even healing an individual with post-traumatic stress disorder. And of our 30 experiments, 26 have shown measurable positive effects. And there's, just to put that into perspective, there's no drug out there that can claim to have that kind of amazing effect. Yeah. So this was interesting to me, but it isn't really the point of the story. I mean, what started to happen around that time too was that I wanted to see if I could scale this down. I wanted to run a workshop, but I hadn't really ever run workshops before, and I didn't know how to show the power of intention. So I put people into groups of 8, totally arbitrarily. And I thought, yeah, let's see what happens if the group sends an intention to somebody there with a healing challenge in the group. So I did this on the Saturday of this first workshop. And I said, come back on Sunday and tell us how you feel. And I figured it would be something like a facial or a massage, a little feel-good exercise. So they lined up the next day, the people who had been sent intention. They got the microphone each in turn, and they said things like this. I've had IBS for 25 years. It's completely gone. I've had a terrible pain from arthritis in my right hip, and it's completely gone. I've had migraines my whole life, and I'm not suffering from a headache today. I had scoliosis, and my back felt like it was being stretched, and then that woman's daughter wrote me afterward to say that they had to change the rear view mirror of her car because her back had changed so much. And on and on and on like this. And in every workshop I ran from then until now, it's 10 years, we had the same thing, these amazing healings that were going on. Now, I was flabbergasted, and I also hated it because I thought, first of all, I'm not a healer. I don't know why this is working. This must be some major placebo effect or something, and it's going to undermine my big intention experiments. So I kind of buried it, more or less. But then it just kept happening more and more. And as well, with my big experiments, I started surveying the people in 2008 with the first peace intention experiment. And I got back thousands of responses that said, I just wanted to know, how was it for you? Were you able to get on the computer? Because we were all sending intention from my website. And I just wanted some feedback. And the feedback I got was things like, I felt like I was attached to a higher network. My body was shaking uncontrollably and I was sobbing. I felt unbearable electricity through my body. Now remember, these are people sitting individually in front of their computers. Yeah. And then other things like, my life has changed so much. It's so peaceful. I made up with my mother. We haven't spoken for 20 years. My boss and I are getting along so much better. I feel in love with everybody I come into contact with. I'm hugging strangers these days, on and on. So, and I quit my job and joined the Peace Corps, or I don't want to do my senseless job anymore. I've decided to do something more meaningful. I've gone back to school and stuff. I mean, thousands of these, not just a few. So I was really just, again, shocked by this. And so my book essentially was really, I started to write it to try to make sense of it. And I also wanted to talk about the journey I had to take and what happened to me as a result, but also what's happened to other people, thousands of others, by sending intention to something or somebody else. That's been the big key, and that's really the big key of the book, and the message of the book is you start healing as soon as, ironically, you get off of yourself.
Yeah. So I mean, that is the really amazing thing, isn't it? The fact that you're doing this for someone else, and yet, from what I'm hearing and so on, is that comes back and benefits you, and that is what you've been seeing, is it?
Absolutely. I mean, the targets have been benefited, of course, because the people in our small groups, about 8, they have had some of the healings, but so have the senders. And that's the extraordinary part of it. It's a major virtuous circle. So whether it's the big experiments or the small ones, we found that kind of rebound mirror effect.
So you said that it was sort of 8 was just an arbitrary number that you came up with, and have you tried with different groups? Have you tried with like groups of 4 or groups of 10, or just to see if there's any difference? What makes 8 the magic number, do you think?
8 isn't really a magic number. It's just a kind of nice optimum number because you need a small group, and probably 4 is too small. We've done groups of 6 or 7, they work. We've had groups of 12, they work. I think what we're really talking about is that it's just a nice sized number. Okay. And of course, but I don't claim any amazing sacred geometry there or anything like that. It literally was plucked out of the air by accident. Or maybe it wasn't an accident. I don't know. But when I came up with it that day, I just said to my husband, I know what we'll do. We'll put them in groups of 8 and just let them do healing to each other and see what happens. Yeah. And that was it. So no research, no nothing, just, let's give it a try.
Okay. And when let's say we're in a group, let's say we were going to do this and I've been put into a group, how do you send intention to someone? Typically, what would someone do when they do that?
Well, there's a whole program that I have in the book that is about how to maximize intention. Too long to go into now. Okay. It's the result of my interviewing many masters of intention and Qigong masters, master healers, Buddhist monks, and studying with them what they used, as well as what worked best in the laboratory. Mm-hmm. And I found, although many of them had from the different disciplines had their own separate techniques. They also had a lot of common techniques. And so I tried to distill all of those practices into a simple program that everybody can follow. And they are simple. It is a simple program. But a couple of the things that are really important are a highly focused mind.
Yeah.
People think of intention as just a nice, calm little meditative state. It's not really. It's a highly charged, focused mind where you're really intending for something. You're focusing on that person. You're focusing on the thought. You're imagining them being healthy and well in every way. Yeah. And also being very specific. Now, a lot of people try to teach intention by saying, oh, yeah, say, well, whatever is the universe decides is in their best possible good or something like that. That isn't what we found works. What we found works over and over again, and a few of the intention experiments that didn't work had to do with, it seems, less focused intention. In a few of those instances, they were not very focused intentions. They were very amorphous intentions. And it looks like that may have been one of the reasons they didn't work. But with, what we found both in the small groups and the big intention experiments, the more specific, the better. So if you want your right hip healed, for instance, then say that, our intention is that, to be that Jane Doe be free of pain in her right hip and be healthy and well in every way. Yeah. Or if, you've broken the third toe on your left foot or something like that and you want it healed, we'll focus on that. So doing a very focused intention is really important. And the other thing that is probably very important, is to remember to bring your heart into it, because this doesn't come from your head. It really ultimately comes from an emotional center, a sense of giving and receiving, and that really happens in your heart.
Okay, thank you. You said about, obviously, you've interviewed lots of experts and drawn upon their knowledge. And I think for me, that's what I really, really love about your work. I just devour it, just hearing all of the stuff that we intrinsically know and intuitively know, but it's so lovely when people say, well, yeah, we've done this experiment, it works. Have you got lots of that in this book as well? Do you touch upon some of the research that backs up what your findings show?
Oh, definitely. I mean, this book was really an investigation to try to figure out what on earth I'd done to these people.
Yeah.
Remember, it started out as an accident, a shock, and the same thing with the big peace intention experiments. I expected us to just possibly have an effect on the target. Looks like we may have. There certainly looks like there's compelling data in every peace experiment we've done. Yeah. But the biggest surprise for me was these effects on the people and the participants, and they were permanent effects in many, many, many instances. Because I just interviewed the other day a woman who took part in a 2008 experiment, and her life and her relationship with her partner changed drastically as a result of participating in that experiment. And it really got them closer, it put them on a whole other level. It was so interesting. And her boyfriend, her partner, who had been a skeptic, participated in one day of the peace intention experiment, and he became a believer. So the book is really about an investigation to try to figure out why. And so I've looked at it from every angle, like brainwave science and the science of altruism, the science of groups, early religious practice, just to try to figure out, where did this come from? I surely could not have invented this, and so the book really looks at it from every angle. And I think there are important pieces of each. I think one big piece is altruism.
Yeah.
One of the really interesting things that happened was finding studies, for instance, of prayer, where there was one very interesting study where they had a group of, it was a psychologist doing a study of whether prayer could help people with depression. Mm-hmm. So he gathered about 400 people who were depressed, and he put them into two groups. One were the people being prayed for, and the others were the people doing the praying. And afterward, he calculated how they'd done. And he found that the people who'd got prayer for them had done well, But the people who had done the praying were doing even better. They had got even a bigger healing. And that is backed up in every piece of research into altruism. Altruism is like a bulletproof vest. People who are altruistic in any way live longer, are healthier. If they're ill and they have the same illness as someone else, it's so much better to be a giver rather than a receiver, and on and on. And that was really backed up in my research too, because aside from looking at other studies, I researched my own groups. I did some studies of them. I worked with a university called Life University, which is the largest chiropractic school in the world. Mm-hmm. And they basically put their psychology department at my disposal and said, here, do you want to test these Power of 8 groups? And I said, yes, please. So we worked with a neuroscientist, and she used QEEG, which measures brain waves, mm-hmm. to measure what was happening to members of the group, the senders, during these Power of 8 groups. And we gathered together, I think it was, batches of 8 of student volunteers, most of whom had never even meditated, let alone done this kind of group intention. Nobody had done this group intention before. And we found amazing brainwave changes. All of the things that make us feel that we're separate from other people. Most of the areas that create worry and doubt were turned way down. It was like the volume was turned way down. And so it would be very clear why people would experience this amazing sense of oneness, this altered state, because so many parts of the brain experienced a global quieting. And it also indicated that people would have felt a really, real great sense of connection and oneness. And that's exactly what they kept reporting. So I was really fascinated by this, because this was the exact brainwave signature shown by a guy called Dr. Andrew Newberg, who has studied ecstatic states among Sufi masters and Buddhist monks in prayer, and even people who are members of Pentecostal churches. And he found the same thing, this quieting of what's called the parietal lobes, mm-hmm. parts of the brain that distinguish self from not self, from the rest of the world. And they help us orient in space by saying, oh, this is me, and that's the rest of the world. And that was all turned down, just as it was with my Power of 8 groups. And the frontal lobes, the part of the brain that does all the executive functions, but also governs worry, doubt, negative feelings, that also was turned way down too, in both his studies and mine. So here's the interesting thing. He was studying people who required years of priming and testing and study to get to that state. My guys were transported there in an instant. All they had to do was watch a 13-minute video from me, which explained how to do it, and the rudimentaries of it, and get together in a group. And so there's really only one conclusion that I could finally draw, which was these groups are a fast track to the miraculous.
It sounds amazing. I literally can't wait to try. I will be snapping up the book as soon as it's out. So what I'm hearing then is that anyone can do this. You don't need a particular set of experience or beliefs or anything like that. We can all do it.
You just need a group. Okay. You just need a group. We can all do it. And you need a group. You don't even have to know the people. They don't have to be good friends. That's the amazing thing about it. What I found with what I also did, aside from us doing the brainwave studies, I also put people together in groups in a year-long masterclass, intention masterclass. And I decided to do this to really study a group. So I got 250 people, and they went through 7 sessions with me, and then I put them into groups. Now, this is 7 telephone sessions. This is a teleseminar. Yeah. And when we put them into groups, they were in Skype or Google Hangouts. And they'd never met each other before, and yet they were intending for each other, meeting every week. And this was the amazing thing of it. I actually monitored their progress for a whole year just to see what happened, again, to try to understand. Yeah. And of the people who were religiously meeting week after week, 100% of them just about had major transformations, just life transformations. It was, one woman got over chronic fatigue she'd had for 15 years. Another guy ended lifelong depression. A woman had vitiligo. She started repigmenting. A woman was down to her last 200 pounds, a British woman, and she got this amazing windfall from Lloyd's. Other people got dream jobs when they were desperate for new work or wanting to change a career or even needed money. On and on. People connected again with long lost relatives or estranged relatives or whatever. And it was just extraordinary. And so one has to ask, what are the odds against chance of that kind of batting average as the just inevitable progression of events over time? And I think that the answer is no, something else is going on here. Wow. And as I say, I think altruism plays a big part. Altruism plays a huge part. And there are other things too, but altruism is one of the big things. And I noticed that too with some of the people in my masterclass who weren't having success halfway through, where they were having intention for themselves. The group was giving them intention. There's one woman called Andy who was getting divorced, and she was selling her gift store business, and her finances were very precarious. Yeah. And so she didn't know what to do because everybody kept intending for her to have, steady income, and that wasn't coming. I even worked with her on one session, just try to bring her back to her seed moment to see where she started thinking about scarcity, to see if we could do something with that, and nothing was working. Mm. So I finally just said, oh, well, get off of yourself, and I do an intention of the week every week on my website. And I had a father write me in about his son, his stepson, who was 15, Luke. And, he broke up with his first major girlfriend, and in a fit of adolescent existential angst, he chucked himself off of a 40-foot structure onto hard ground. And he nearly died. I mean, he broke everything, had brain damage, he had, damage to his spine, all sorts of things. They didn't think he was going to live. And so we just started a healing vigil for him. And I asked the groups, I said, send an intention for Luke this week. And we did it for 3 weeks, etc. Anyway, Luke got out of the hospital. He survived. He got out of the hospital in record time. It was amazing healing. So maybe it was good doctoring. Maybe it was us. We don't know. But it seemed to defy. I know it wasn't a placebo effect because, like most 15-year-olds, Luke thought his parents' belief in the power of intention was pretty stupid. Yeah. But the interesting thing is what happened to Andy. As soon as Andy got off herself and started intending for Luke, she got a call out of the blue from somebody that she didn't really even know, offering her this amazing dream job, just the kind of job she was looking for. So, and this happened over and over and over again in these groups. So altruism played a big, big piece of it. But I also think it's the experience of the group itself, the idea that, we have more resolve. We make better vows when it's in the presence of others than with ourselves. And also, it's the power of a bunch of strangers sending intention for us. That's a really powerful, strengthening thing. They're praying for us, essentially.
And it's funny, isn't it? Because it tends to be the opposite of what we do. So when we have an issue or a problem, we focus on it, and all our attention is on that and not what's around us. And so to say to someone, that actually a way of resolving it is to give something to someone else, and that will come back to you. I'm sure for many people, I know as I'm hearing you say it, I think, I wonder if I could just not focus on my problems, to turn it around. And yet that seems to be where the power is.
Oh gosh, yeah. Well, that's the thing. That seemed to be the case. And again, in our big peace intention experiments, people are engaged in something altruistic because even when we were doing seed experiments, we were trying to do something to see if we could make a bigger thing out of it. So we were trying to make seeds grow faster.
Yeah.
We wanted to see, can we make food healthier and more plentiful with our thoughts? With our water experiments, we actually did some in the laboratory, but then took it out in the field and sent intention to 2 samples of water at Lake Biwa in Japan, which is a highly polluted lake. It's the mother lake of Japan, but it's very polluted. Yeah. And so we tried to do that, and we moved the pH on that water by an entire pH. So, we were always trying to do something altruistic. And that's when a lot of people were really experiencing healing. So really with my peace intention experiment, which is just run, that was really the main issue. Was I didn't just want to lower violence and restore peace in an area of America we targeted. I wanted to help the participants feel more peaceful in their hearts, to heal some of the polarization that's going on in America. And that seemed to be the most important thing. It's really all about the process. Yeah. But it's also about, we always use the term self-help, the self-help movement. We're all part of the self-help movement. And I think that can be really, really dangerous. It really convinced me when I looked at one study of it was looking at people who are pleasure seekers and, who have lots of money, who live the good life, that we'd call it. The people we're all envious of. And then other people who were living maybe less affluent life, but a life of some purpose. The people who were living the good life had terrible immune system markers. I mean, these guys were people who were candidates for Alzheimer's, arthritis, heart disease. They were going to drop like flies. The other people, the people who are living a life of meaning, their immune system markers were fabulous. These people were going to live forever. And it just demonstrates you get off of yourself. And it's far more healthy. It's far more strengthening. It's not just a feel-good thing to do. Didn't I do this good deed today? It's almost a matter of life or death. And so for me, the self-help movement is really, really dangerous. I want to start an other help movement.
And what would you call that? Is it more about the connected health movement or something?
Yeah, I guess. Do
you think it's because when we're in groups or we're doing something altruistic, do you think it's that connections that get strengthened between us and between, like you say, people that don't know each other? Do you think that somehow amplifies the energy and makes it more coherent and resonant, that the effect is just, really, it sounds like almost exponentially amplified? Do you think it's to do with that connection?
I think the connection is really important. Yeah. I think the feeling connected. We're so isolated these days, and yet we are supposed to, our whole natural state of being is really about being connected. Mm-hmm. And so I think that's a big part of it. But I do want to clarify that it's not like it doesn't grow exponentially with numbers.
Okay.
One thing I found was with the seed experiment we did, which was very well controlled. We had 3 controls and 1 target set of seeds. Scientists didn't know in each time which seeds we were sending intention to until after the plants had been planted, the seeds had been planted, the plants had been harvested, and he measured them. Then we'd reveal it. But we had sometimes thousands of people participating on a seed experiment, and sometimes just 100 in a room. And we had the same effect. So it wasn't about size of group, it's just about group, just any old group. And I found that even with groups of 8, they have amazing, powerful effects on a member of the group. If they can heal a cataract, that was one woman was 80% better. She had clouded vision, a cataract, and 80% better afterward, and she said. and a woman coming back the next day without her crutches with multiple sclerosis. That was another amazing one we had. I mean, if they can do that in a group of 8, then, you know, that's pretty powerful. So I think it's about the feeling of connection. You know, there's an X factor here that I could not discover. You know, I looked at every angle of it, and I've got a lot of pieces of the puzzle, but there's something that remains elusive. And I think that is just this amazing relational power of a group, and how it creates, you know, it just creates magic. It just creates magic.
I mean, it sounds so exciting, you know, for the future, and especially what you were saying about the sort of peace experiment. And I know you're thinking about this in a way of sort of bringing together people of all political persuasions as well to heal, you know, communities and countries, and, you know, where we are at the moment with all of the chaos that's going on in the UK and the US and so on. Where do you see this going, or where would you like to see this going?
Well, where I would like to see this going is it's used all the time, that when people have in their businesses, in their neighborhoods, with their schools, with children, that they experiment all the time with the whole idea of intending in a group and holding that same thought together. I'd like to see it in all kinds of practices like that. I'd like to see the big experiments continue to be done, because, as I say, it's not even about the outcome. It's about the process and how that changes thousands and thousands of people. I mean, we had 25,000 people on our 9/11 intention experiment for the 10th anniversary of 9/11. And I mean, it was fascinating to me because the healing that happened between Muslims and Christians, between Arabs and Americans, was far greater in terms of significance than any sort of temporary or whatever decrease in violence there. That the actual process was healing everybody. And I think there was a real sense in some of our peace intention experiments, and, you know, it'll be interesting to calculate all the results of the one we're just finishing now. But it's so interesting to see how that ripples out. People start hugging strangers and becoming more loving and peaceful, how that affects everybody they come into contact with, and so forth. And so I think that the actual act of participation is what's really important here, and it would be wonderful to see that amplified out in the world.
It just sounds really empowering, doesn't it, to know that we can do this stuff, and, like you say, collectively, but just in small groups, because I think there's often a feeling that we can't change the world, and, you know, we're hopeless, or helpless, I should say, and it certainly sounds like that's not the case. Gosh, well, it sounds incredible. So really, just to finish up then Lynne, how can people connect with you and your work? So obviously the book is out now.
The book, The Power of 8, is out now, and they can get that from any good bookstore or online with Amazon and the like. They can connect with me on lynnmctaggart.com, where they'll find out about future intention experiments. And if they've caught this on the day of release, they can participate in the last peace intention experiment, which is American Peace Intention Experiment, for this day of October 5th, and join in the conversation on Facebook and Twitter, on my Twitter and Facebook pages, because there's lively things going on with people, the aftermath of the intention experiment and what's gone on for people, and they can see for themselves the amazing changes. But they'll find out all about, in The Power of 8, they'll find out all about how to do intention and all about how to set up these groups for themselves.
Great. And you would like to hear, you know, if people are doing this, and I'm definitely going to start one, would you like to hear about the results that people are
doing? Definitely. We have a community site. We want people to write about what's going on with them on my Facebook pages, etc. And also every year I run a year-long masterclass. So if people want to know more about that, they can check that out on my website, lynnmctaggart.com.
Great. Thank you, Lynne. I have links to all of that on the Summit website as well, so anyone can go back and find out the information from there. And thank you very much for sharing about your book. I think it sounds amazing.
Thank you so much for having me.
Brilliant. Thanks, Lynne.
Thank you.
Bye.